This boy defeated and tamed the most powerful dragon in the dungeons and even managed to rescue the princess. When he left, all the masters sensed his presence and went to the location, thinking the dragon had escaped from the dungeon, something that if it happened would mean the end of humanity. When they arrived, the boy got off the dragon and greeted them. The Lord asks if he really tamed the black dragon. The young man says yes, but the Lord still doubts it. So, the boy asks the dragon to show its presence, and the beast begins to roar. The Lord falls to his knees in disbelief, because that is completely impossible since that dragon is of the Radiant Moon class, and the boy is very young. This makes them question just how strong this boy is. If you want to see how he managed to tame this dragon, follow me in this video. On the eve of the year 2076, a game suddenly became reality. Countless dangerous dungeons appeared along with hordes of monsters that invaded the human world. Powerful creatures mercilessly massacring people and driving humanity to the brink of extinction. However, along with the destruction came the so-called divine talents, mysterious blessings granted to humans, allowing some to awaken as powerful hunters. Thanks to them, the world was saved from the clutches of the monsters, and from then on, a new order was established. The strong came to be revered, and the law of survival of the fittest became absolute. To maintain their positions, hunters needed to constantly grow stronger, seeking power and wealth. Formidable hunters invaded dungeons, defeated bosses, conquered treasures, and climbed the rankings, marking the beginning of the era of global hunters. Amid the bustling hunter square, a young man walked disheartened. He sighed, regretting that he could have awakened a rare class, but ended up with the most common of all, warrior. On his personal panel, it read, Name, Suyong. Profession warrior. Strength 12. Speed 10. Spirit 10. He thought that in the early stages, warriors suffered greatly in close combat and died easily. Even with effort, their power could never compare to other classes. And in that world, being a warrior was practically synonymous with mediocrity. Suddenly, a group approached, and one of them began to mock him, saying he had heard that Yang awakened as the most useless warrior of all, something that suited him perfectly. Yang remained silent, recognizing the face of the provocator. The purple-haired young man came closer, wrapping an arm around him mockingly and saying that a newly awakened warrior was just an ordinary human with a bit more strength. Since Yang was an orphan with no money or guidance, he wouldn't even be able to join a guild. It would be better for him to accept working as a laborer. Suddenly, the protagonist cracked his knuckles, startling everyone with a sharp sound. He asked where that fly had come from, and with a smirk stared at the bully, recognizing him as Wang Fei, his classmate. He remarked that he'd heard Wang had awakened a rare class, Ice Mage, and congratulated him, but also reminded him that mages were extremely weak physically, especially right after awakening. In a provocative tone, he suggested testing that rumor to see if it was true. Enraged, Wang called his friends, shouting that the school's most useless warriors still had the nerve to act arrogant. Just as they were about to fight, someone shouted for them to look. Everyone turned in surprise. The attack team from the Spirit Hunt Guild was arriving. People whispered excitedly, saying how lucky they were to see them in person. Young watched closely, recognizing one of the most powerful A-rank guilds in East Spirit City. A fourth-ranking hunter, a storm archer of level 95, advanced, asking everyone to clear the way as he was in a hurry. Yang was amazed. It was Jiao Ming, the vice president of the Spirit Hunt Guild, someone he'd only ever seen in commercials. Wang eagerly stepped forward, bumping into Yang before approaching Ming. He asked if they were recruiting, saying he admired the guild for a long time and wondered if he could join them. Before he could continue, a woman interrupted, saying that the person responsible for recruitment was downstairs and that they were just the attack team. However, Xiaoming showed interest and asked what class he belonged to. Wang proudly replied that he was an Ice Mage, a rare class specializing in crowd control. The vice president smiled, praised his choice, and ordered someone to give him a guild card. Flattered, Wang thanked him and the woman told him to go downstairs to make contact. Watching everything, Young thought about how easily someone with a rare class could get attention and wondered if he would ever have the same luck. Yet, while he pondered, other awakened individuals approached, asking if they could join, too, saying they were archers and thieves. The guild woman, now annoyed, snapped that archers should look for the branch responsible and that they didn't have time to deal with thieves. She didn't want to waste another second on useless questions. Curious, Young asked what she thought of warriors. She looked at him briefly, turned her face away, and simply ignored him. The protagonist felt the contempt and questioned whether this truly was the reality of his world, a place where only the strong were respected and where nothing but power mattered. The awakened classes determined each person's potential, and by awakening as a mere warrior, his fate seemed already sealed. Even the weakest guilds hesitated to accept warriors. So, what could be expected from the elites, like the mighty Spirit Hunt Guild? The two other young men who had also been rejected commented that they had always dreamed of joining a guild and becoming renowned hunters. But one of them resigned, said it was better to forget about it. After all, they were just storm archers. The other, wearing a blue shirt, tried to stay optimistic and mentioned hearing rumors that the Spirit Hunt Guild would be raiding the Black Dragon's lair that very day. They were probably there to use the teleportation portal leading directly to the dungeon's entrance. Upon hearing that, Yang froze in shock. The Black Dragon's lair was the largest S-rank dungeon in City C, filled with lesser monsters, but also elites and absurdly powerful creatures. Though death didn't mean immediate extinction in that world, it caused hunters to lose levels and experience, possibly dropping all the way to level 0, something devastating amid the fierce competition between guilds. Worse yet, losing rare equipment could be an even greater blow. The ruler of that place was the legendary level 99 Black Dragon, Athos. The wings of black flames, a being so feared that even S-rank guilds have been annihilated before him. Still, the Spirit Hunt Guild was famous for having several hunters in their 4th evolution or higher, and had never failed a single expedition. So perhaps they truly stood a chance. Yang felt small and out of place, imagining those figures facing a legendary dragon while he was barely acknowledged as a warrior. It only reinforced the sense that this world belonged solely to the strong, and he wondered if he was destined to remain a failure forever, trampled underfoot by the powerful. Suddenly, something strange happened, and a glowing screen appeared before his eyes. A mechanical voice announced, "Perfect host detected. Part-time boss system will soon be bound." A dense energy began to gather in his chest, and Yang, confused, wondered what was happening, thinking this might be some kind of cheat. The voice continued, "Part-time boss system loading? The system requires the host to act as a dungeon boss, resisting players who challenge the instance. Upon eliminating a player, the host will share their experience and equipment drops. Would you like to activate the function?" Shocked, Young tried to understand the system wanted him to fight against players as a dungeon boss. Normally, a boss faced teams of 4, 8, or even 24 people, and in some cases raids of 100 players. If he could defeat them, he would gain enormous amounts of experience and valuable items, rising from level 1 to transcendent levels in a short time. That meant even the weakest warrior could become incredibly powerful. But one thought worried him. What would happen if he lost? While he was still trying to process everything, the system changed again, displaying a new message. Host did not respond. Unlinking will begin shortly. Countdown initiated. Yang panicked, unable to believe what was happening, wondering if it could truly be real. He prepared to decide, realizing that even taking advantage of an opportunity carried risks. The counter began ticking down rapidly, his heart pounding. Rather than live as a failure, he would risk everything. He didn't want to spend his life being crushed under others' feet. When the counter reached 1 second, he made his decision, taking a deep breath and declaring mentally that this was the only path to become stronger. And if it meant working part-time as a dungeon boss, so be it. The moment he confirmed, the system's energy surged violently and the mechanical voice announced, "Host has chosen part-time mode. System activated. Teleportation in progress." Light enveloped him, and within seconds, the ground vanished beneath his feet as he was completely swallowed by the portal. Yang muttered for the system to at least give him a powerful boss, if this was for real. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself somewhere entirely different. The air was heavy. The ground cracked and covered in scales and molten rock. Looking around trying to understand where he was, he whispered that the part-time job had really worked. In front of him, dozens of creatures stared. Dragons ranging from level 80 to 95, all kneeling before him. He frowned, thinking they seemed far too small for what he knew about dragons. Then a deep voice echoed, calling him noble king and asking if he had awakened from his long slumber. Yang's eyes widened in confusion, his body trembling. King, Dragon King. That could only mean one thing. The system confirmed it with a glowing message, congratulating a host for synchronization and stating that the current boss was the level 99 Black Dragon Athos, the Wings of Black Flames. He froze, wondering if he had really become the Wings of Black Flames himself. Then a data panel appeared before him. Boss status Black Dragon, Ao's Young Stage level 99. Race Dragon HP 5 million. Attribute Shadow, Strength Speed 1, 12. Spirit 1321. Talents, Draconic Lineage. Immune to 80% of physical damage and 80% of magical damage. Black Flames of Destruction. Innate mastery of fire at an incredibly powerful level. Capable of unleashing destructive black flames that deal massive magic damage. Skills. Dragon Explosion unleashes an extremely powerful detonation, dealing physical damage equal to 300% of strength. Dragon's roar emits a deafening roar, stunning for 5 seconds all creatures within a 300-meter radius whose spirit is lower than the user's. Dragon's eye allows viewing of any space within the instance, ignoring line of sight restrictions. Yang was stunned. If these were truly the stats of the wings of black flames, then he was an absolute monster. A level 99 player in their 4th evolution could barely reach one of those attributes. Yet AO succeeded all of them, boasting over 3,000 points in strength. The most absurd thing was the talents. Dual 80% immunity to both physical and magical damage, combined with an aura that reduced enemy attributes by 20%. That made him nearly invincible, not to mention the exclusive skills that made him an unstoppable force. An infinite power coursed through his body, every cell vibrating. The sensation was intoxicating. Driven by impulse, he let out a colossal roar, but immediately regretted it. The sound thundered across the lair, shaking the ground as all the dragons before him knelt instantly, suffocated by the overwhelming pressure. One trembling servant begged the king to calm his wrath. Yang looked around and realized that with a single roar, he had brought all his subordinates to their knees. He figured he must have accidentally activated Dragon's roar, sighed in amazement at his own power, and ordered everyone to rise. Yang thinks that this must be what a real boss's tone sounds like. His humanoid servant starts trembling, saying there's no doubt that His Majesty is truly the king, and that even in his youth, he already possesses such immense power that once he reaches maturity, crushing the human world will only be a matter of time. The protagonist is startled when he hears the word youth and recalls that the information did mention this, but he wonders if dungeon bosses aren't supposed to remain fixed at their levels. However, the wings of black flames might be an exception and could have truly leveled up. Suddenly, he hears a faint, strained breath beside him and sees an elf waking up. She asks what that cursed dragon is plotting and says that if he has any sense at all, he should release her immediately. Otherwise, the elven race will make sure he pays for it. Yang wonders if the elven race could be composed of NPCs from the instance. He starts toying with the cage, and the elf screams, asking what he's doing. The protagonist thinks that since the game became reality, several fantasy races have appeared, but this is the first time he's actually seen elves. Suddenly, both of them feel a powerful aura. Yang wonders if it's a spatial fluctuation and what could be happening. The elf sighs, smiles, and says that a player has finally come to rescue her, calling the dragon her doom. Yang steps closer and keeps staring at her. Startled, the elf asks why he's looking at her like that and thinks it's strange since that dragon usually ignores insults. Yet, today he's reacting differently. Yang concludes that it must be the Spirit Hunt Guild. Though he didn't expect them to arrive so quickly, he knows their strategies never fail, which makes him wonder if he's truly going to be defeated. Even as a powerful dragon, he knows they must have prepared carefully before showing up to challenge him. To be sure, he activates the dragon's eye, thinking he should use a skill to investigate first. Then he begins hearing voices telling everyone to stay sharp, because their strategy cannot fail today. Finally, he locates them all. Leon, level 98, 4th evolution, master of the Holy Light Shield. Qian Yuan, level 96, 4th evolution, healing paladin. Xiao Ming, level 95, 4th evolution, storm archer. Lu Shan, level 99, 4th evolution, master of the storm of destruction. Yang realizes this is the Spirit Hunt Guild's main assault team. The group leader says that today they must invade the Black Dragon's lair and defeat him, and that reaching the 5th evolution will only be a matter of time. The team cheers, and Yang thinks they're truly confident. One of the members shouts a warning, telling the leader they've detected minor monsters ahead. 8 mid-level flying magic wolves with poison attributes. They're young wyverns, dragon race, levels 80, 89, and 81. The protagonist keeps watching, deciding to test the power of these small creatures first. Lu Shan steps forward, saying they can't waste time with low-level trash, ordering the tanks to hold the line while the others use fire attribute attacks and maximize their damage as quickly as possible. In seconds, they eliminate the first wave of monsters. The leader orders them to maintain formation and keep moving. Meanwhile, Young observes and concludes that this truly is the Spirit Hunt Guild. In both firepower and discipline, they're top tier, and those monsters didn't even get to show their full strength. He looks at his subordinates and realizes what he must do. Since they're a professional team, it's time to raise the difficulty a little. Yang keeps watching as the guild members ask the leader how much progress they've made in the dungeon. He replies about 10% with supplies stable and no casualties, which he considers excellent. Suddenly, Yuan panics and shouts, asking what that thing falling from the sky is, shocked by the creature's attributes. Sean also looks confused, asking if it's an elite monster. The elite dragon warrior appears before them, announcing that intruders have been detected. Its data appears. HP 100,000, Earth Attribute Dragon Race, Strength 1,211, Speed 823, Spirit 72, Talents, Dragon's Glory, which increases the power of all abilities by 10%, and Dragon's Prestige, which grants immunity to mental effects. The team leader yells for everyone to defend immediately, but the dragon warrior teleports right into the middle of the group. It charges forward with a roar, shouting for them to accept their end. But Dan steps up and raises his shield, declaring that he'll handle it. He activates the Divine Light Shield barrier, becoming immune to any damage for 10 seconds with a cooldown of 300 seconds. Ming starts coordinating the team, telling everyone to stay calm and ordering the ranged attackers to fall back while the melee fighters move forward. He commands them to align their buffs and combos and focus their fire. Then he fires a storm arrow, dealing massive wind attribute damage and hitting the dragon squarely. Yang watches closely and concludes that the dragon warrior is indeed powerful, but alone poses no real threat to the Spirit Hunt Guild. The elf, still trapped, says that for a moment she thought the dragon was plotting something, but now sees that he just sent underlings to die, calling him pathetic. The protagonist smirks and summons more minions, thinking that if one isn't enough, he just needs to increase the number. Several monsters begin falling in front of the guild, leaving everyone shocked and asking what's going on. Yang thinks that now he'll see how they handle 6 elites at once. The guild panics, saying they're all elite monsters and that 6 is too many. Ming, nervous, tells the leader they've never faced anything like this and asks what to do. Sean comments that the day is definitely strange, but quickly shouts that elite monsters aren't something to fear because the Spirit Hunt Guild doesn't mess around. He declares himself an expert in elites and says they can bring them all on. The battle resumes. The leader issues commands yelling for everyone to reform their positions and prioritize healing the wounded. The tanks must maintain aggro and avoid facing the group directly. He orders them to protect the healers and for the healers to keep the tanks alive. Young watches and admits that the group is truly resilient. At first, he thought elite monsters and surprise attacks would make them retreat, but they chose to fight to the end. The elf, impressed, remarks that those players are incredible and mocks the dragon, saying his strategies won't work and he should just accept his fate. The protagonist, however, keeps watching the guild, thinking that even with all that strength, it still isn't enough to defeat him like a true boss. After eliminating the 6 elite monsters, the guild continues moving forward, and Yang wonders if they still have another trick up their sleeve. Suddenly, he notices the group isn't heading toward him, but in another direction, as if something important were hidden there. He looks in the same direction, they're moving, and sees the tomb of the Dragon Slayer, where a skeleton lies inside. Curious, he asks what that is, and the system displays an item called the Dragon Slayer's Heart, along with a mission stating that the item allows its bearer to ignore a dragon's innate talents. Yang begins to grow irritated, his dark aura leaking from his body, frightening his minions who ask what's happening. The protagonist then understands it's just like an online game strategies, where an almost invincible boss can be weakened through special mechanics or rare items. If the players manage to use that heart, they'll be able to ignore his talents, meaning there really is a chance they could defeat him. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind starts shaking the elf's cage, and she, surprised, comments that the players haven't even triggered the event yet, so there's no reason for the dragon to leave his lair early. The panicked servants shout that Lord Athos himself will take action, chanting a war cry and declaring that the king will triumph. Yang charges forward, determined, thinking that those players already knew about the item and that under no circumstances can he allow the Spirit Hunt Guild to get their hands on it. Meanwhile, the assault group advances cautiously. The leader comments that he didn't expect so many surprises so early in the dungeon, but that everything is still under control for now. Ming warns the guild master that the consumption of supplies and equipment durability are far higher than expected and wonders if they might have been deceived by the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. Sean firmly denies it, saying that the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion is a renowned and trustworthy strategy group and that he personally exchanged this tactic using the Ring of the Universe with them, so it can't be fake. Yuan announces that they're nearing the Black Dragon's lair and asks if there's any chance a new event could trigger the boss. Sean assures them that it's impossible. The Black Dragon has only basic intelligence and won't leave the lair unless attacked. The guild leader declares that the Black Dragon is merely a stepping stone on his path, and that after causing so much destruction, he'll finally reclaim everything. Yuan agrees, saying the dragon can belong to the leader, but he's had his eye on the elf for a while. If they complete the secret event of the Elven Maiden, they'll not only earn a pass to the Elven Kingdom, but also gain the maiden's total obedience. He asks the leader if he knows what he's talking about. Sean replies that once they obtain the Dragon Slayer's heart, victory will be guaranteed and Yuan will be free to do whatever he wants. Suddenly, they notice a shadow approaching and inform the leader that several scattered monsters are heading their way. Winged creatures, seemingly small flying dragons. Sean frowns, saying that flying dragons are guardian monsters and shouldn't be outside the lair. Ming looks closer and shouts that something's wrong. That size isn't that of an ordinary flying dragon. Yuan is also stunned by the creature's massive form until the protagonist lands before them, towering and terrifying, making everyone scream in despair. It's the boss, the wings of black flame. Sean freezes in disbelief, saying that it's impossible, wondering why the boss appeared so early. Ming becomes furious, shouting that the celestial mechanism pavilion really tricked them. Yuan panics, asking what they should do now and whether they'll really have to fight since without the Dragon Slayer's heart, there's no way to win. He insists they should retreat immediately, but the guild leader stays silent. Young watches them with disdain, thinking how terrified they look at the idea of fighting without the Dragon Slayer's heart. So this is the so-called Mighty Spear Hunt Guild. Maybe that's better. All he needs to do is wipe them out to level up. Yang prepares to attack, and the group comments that he's about to unleash his skills, but suddenly a lightning bolt strikes his head, dealing 2,999 damage, which barely dents his health bar. Sean starts releasing his own power, declaring that no one is allowed to retreat and that everyone must return to their positions. He asks if there's really anything the guild can't face, reminding them that they're not weak and that a mere beast is no reason to fear. Determined, he faces the dragon Hedon and orders an all-out assault, promising generous rewards in gold, gear, and women to those who fight with everything they've got. His words ignite the group's spirits. They shout with excitement, saying they'll slay the dragon, grab the loot, and take the elves afterward, moving into position and preparing to strike. The protagonist closes his eyes, thinking those words only made them more confident, and that means he'll just have to kill them one by one. Sean gathers his energy and shouts for everyone to unleash maximum damage, attacking with full force. He orders Dan to activate the strongest defense barrier and hold aggro, while the healers focus on regenerating mana to sustain protection. Yuan must keep the Holy Light active, and the support classes must cast all singlet target buffs on him and on Ming to maximize damage. According to the plan, they're close to the Dragon Slayer's tomb, and if they stick to the strategy, victory is certain. But before they can continue, the protagonist's tail sweeps through them, exploding between the group and sending everyone flying. The healer shouts for the team to regroup as quickly as possible, but the force of the blast keeps them apart. The protagonist warns that he won't give them a chance to prepare. And amid the smoke, a bright light begins to emerge, revealing Yang launching his abilities. The system announces that the triple sacred barrier has been activated, creating a powerful defense that will protect the shield bearer and his allies for about 3 minutes. The leader shouts that he didn't notice the dragon's attack and orders all survivors to take cover inside the barrier. The saint with a faint smile explains that the black dragon can use its tail strike only once, and that the remaining attacks are area-based, instructing the group to stay close together to reduce damage and endure the assault. The system then reports a divine blessing that increases the power of holy light abilities by 30% for him and his allies. While defending, the leader thinks he hadn't expected to dodge so many attacks and commands the survivors to counterattack. The archer then asks everyone to channel their buffs into her and the guild leader. Young thinks that was just a simple strike, something exclusive to his current form, and decides to keep his defense active just in case. Furious, Sean orders the second wave. Everyone attacks at once, and the resulting explosion is so powerful it can be seen from miles away. The leader yells for everyone to prepare for the next phase, saying they need to take at least 5% of the boss's health. But as the dust settles, he's horrified to see that all their combined attacks only dealt 10,000 damage. Yang watches with satisfaction, realizing they're poorly equipped and incapable of breaking through his defense. Ming tries to warn the leader, saying the dragon's damage reduction talent is insane and they'll never inflict real injuries. Even so, Sean insists they stay focused, saying that as long as the dragon's health doesn't drop below 75%, it won't use any devastating skills. So, everyone keeps attacking with hope, while Yang finds the whole thing irritating, like being bitten by a swarm of mosquitoes. Despite their failed strategy, the group keeps fighting desperately, and he decides it's time to end this once and for all. The protagonist takes flight, unleashes a deafening roar that paralyzes everyone, then exhales a colossal wave of fire that engulfs the battlefield. He mutters that it's over. Not even an A-rank guild can face him. Sean tries to stand, confused that the dragon already used its skills, and shouts for everyone to get up, saying the boss is always paralyzed after an attack, and they can still win. But when he looks back, he sees all his comrades already lying on the ground, completely annihilated. As he turns toward the dungeon boss, Sean realizes the dragon is still moving and screams in terror, demanding to know why that damned beast isn't paralyzed after using its ability. The protagonist exhales a blast of black flame, striking the leader Hedon, who screams that it's not over yet. However, the system appears, announcing that all intruders have been completely eliminated and congratulating the player, informing that experience conversion is now in progress. Young feels a strange energy flowing through his body and wonders if this is the experience being absorbed. The system begins recording. You have eliminated Thunderbreaker Sean, level 99, gaining experience points. You have eliminated Storm Archer Ming, level 95, gaining experience points. You have eliminated Healing Paladin Yuan, level 94, gaining experience points. You have eliminated Holy Light Defender Dan, level 93, gaining 162,321 experience points. Yang watches in disbelief as the experience bar keeps rising nonstop, almost overflowing from the massive accumulation. After a few moments, the system reports that the total accumulated experience is 990,000 points, advancing from level 1 to level 20 and reaching the limit before the first class transformation. Due to excess, 40% of the experience has been lost and 430,000 points have been stored in the reservoir. Please complete the task as soon as possible, the system adds. On his personal panel, his stats update. Name, Su Yang, class, warrior, untransformed. Level 20, ascending experience 430,000, strength 12, speed 10, spirit 10, unallocated attribute points 200. Yang is stunned to see he still has ascending experience, meaning he can continue leveling rapidly once he changes class. If all goes well, he could reach level 40 and achieve the second transformation that same day, an absurd growth rate. He then looks ahead, wondering if he obtained any equipment, since a Heil guild like Spirit Hunt should have dropped incredible items, maybe even a rare gold tier 1. Upon checking his inventory, the protagonist is shocked. Diamond tier weapon, Storm's Call Longbow Woe, Diamond tier accessory, Spirit of the Wind's Call necklace, Diamond tier armor, Cloudflow boots, Platinum tier weapon, Ritual Remnant, staff, and Platinum tier weapon, Flame Sword. He can hardly believe he got 3 Diamond tier items and several Platinum ones. Recognizing the bow as the Vice Leader Ming's main weapon, he laughs, imagining the Spirit Hunt guild seething with rage at that very moment. Even though he can't use the bow since he's a warrior, selling it at the auction house would earn billions, a massive profit. Checking the rest of the loot, he finds basic agility potions, intermediate strength potions, and skill scrolls like Baptism of Flames and Rock Barrier. Feeling even more pleased, smiling, he remarks that this is almost too good to be true. But the surprises continue. He finds a broken Limitless Gem, a special item that when applied to equipment completely removes level restrictions. Shocked, he shouts that it's insane. Using this gem, even a level 1 novice could equip a Platinum tier weapon that normally requires level 61. The system displays the description, Flame Sword, Platinum tier, a weapon of the Flame Giant. Its blade has claimed countless lives. The surrounding flames are as hot as lava, ready to devour any enemy before it. Restriction level 79. Attributes strength 320, spirit 150. Yang grips the sword tightly, saying that among all the Platinum tier equipment, this one suits his warrior class best. With the Limitless Gem applied, even at level 20, he'll be able to wield it. And with that, nothing will be able to stop him. The system displays additional details. Flame enchantment consumes mana to envelop the sword in fire, adding 40% of the strength attribute as flame damage to attacks. Flame Giant's Remnant consumes all mana to summon a Flame Giant for 10 minutes with a cooldown of 24 hours. Soon after, another message appears warning that the dual missions timer is about to end with a 5-minute countdown before distance reset. He can also choose to return immediately. Without hesitation, he decides to leave, eager to return and change his class. When he confirms his choice, the teleportation begins, and suddenly he reappears at home, surprised to find himself back in his own room since he expected to appear in the class change plaza. However, he quickly realizes how realistic the system is. He truly reached level 20, and none of it was a dream. He opens the system menu, saying it's time to allocate his points, deciding to put 100 into strength and 50 into spirit. Normally, warriors don't invest in spirit, but since he's bound to the system, he can't follow the standard path. Some of the scrolls he obtained require a minimum spirit stat to use, which could become a huge advantage later. After distributing the points, he suddenly feels something strange and wonders if this caused an aura burst since he assigned them all at once, drastically increasing his power. When the surge settles, he notices he nearly destroyed his entire room and thinks that maybe next time he should hold back a little. Looking at the clock, he sees it's already late and decides to leave the class change for tomorrow, choosing to rest for the night. The next day at the Spirit Hunt Guild headquarters, people ask the leader why they returned so soon and whether they completed the dungeon. The woman from before freezes when she sees that her master's level has dropped, which can only mean the team was wiped out. She asks how it happened and whether they followed the strategy purchased from the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. Sean, who had been level 99 but dropped to 90, replies irritably that he doesn't want to hear that cursed name again, saying they were deceived. He curses the so-called strategy, shouting that he traded his ring of the universe for that worthless garbage and made a fool of himself. The woman, still in shock, notices the vice leader lying on a stretcher, now level 86, and screams in disbelief, asking what happened. Sean explains that his main weapon, a diamond tier item, exploded, leaving him badly injured and unconscious. Yuan, in tears, says he lost his diamond boots and didn't even manage to get the palace. The leader grows angrier by the second, seeing everyone devastated, and says that even an S-rank guild like the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion dared to sell a fake strategy. Enraged, he vows to confront them immediately, swearing he won't rest until he gets an explanation. Meanwhile, at Nanshan Orphanage, a child calls for the old man to come see something amazing. The elder walks over to a delivery man and asks if he's sure the delivery is correct. The worker confirms, saying the address is Nanshan Orphanage, and the recipient's name is Suyong. Surprised, the old man wonders how little Yong could possibly afford something like this. A cheerful girl runs around excitedly, and the old man tells her to be careful. But Xiao keeps smiling and running everywhere, too excited to stop. One of the delivery men stumbles, and some boxes start falling, leaving the girl frozen in fear. But the protagonist appears just in time, catching them all with one hand and saving her. He smiles and says, "It's been a long time." Shocked, she screams that her big brother is back, and soon all the children at the orphanage run toward him, thrilled to see him after so long. Yang comments that seeing everyone so happy puts his heart at ease. The old man walks over smiling, and says it seems he's become very strong, asking if he's already chosen a profession. The protagonist laughs and replies that he has. He changed classes yesterday and luckily made quite a bit of money. He recalls selling several items from a Spirit Hunt Guild with money flowing in nonstop. His bank balance now sits at 60 million. Still worried, the old man asks if he joined a dungeon raid group and tells him to be careful, reminding him that monsters are dangerous. Yang thinks to himself that in truth, he's the most dangerous monster inside those dungeons. The old man insists, saying that beginners who change professions can lose levels or even die if they're not cautious, so it might be better to wait. But Yang cuts him off, saying there's no need to worry since those monsters are very obedient and can't hurt him. He then mentions that he's heading to the temple to change professions again and needs to go. The old man looks confused, not understanding how monsters could be obedient or how Yang could change professions again when he just awakened. At the class change hall, rumors have already spread. People whisper that the Spirit Hunt Guild was completely annihilated yesterday during their battle with the Black Dragon boss, and that even the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion's branch is now in trouble. They say something went wrong at the dungeon's conclusion, and that the Spirit Hunters went to the pavilion demanding answers. Another awakened player comments that he never imagined such a reliable raid group like the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion would make such a mistake. Yang walks in silence, thinking about how quickly news of the Spirit Hunt Guild's downfall spread, and how the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion is being blamed since they only faced the Black Dragon because of the purchase strategy. The pavilion, known for having many 5th-class experts, will certainly come to investigate what happened, and they might become his next enemies. He smiles, imagining that group must possess many valuable items. But first, he has to make sure he can defeat them easily. Suddenly, Wang appears, shouting at him, demanding to know why he's there and why he keeps coming to the temple to change professions. Yang replies that he should be the one asking that question, but Wang and his group start laughing, saying they already know why. Apparently, no guild wanted to accept him, so he comes here every day trying his luck. Wang activates his ice abilities, saying that yesterday he didn't have time to teach him a lesson, but now he'll see where Yang can run. Yang looks at him calmly, thinking he's just like a noisy fly and clearly needs to be swatted to learn some manners. Wang keeps bragging, saying that yesterday he let Yang go only because of guild business. But now he's joined a guild, distributed his attributes, learned new skills, and guarantees that this time he'll definitely win. However, before he can even finish his sentence, he's interrupted by a devastating punch to the face. The blow is so powerful that it sends him flying. The protagonist calmly remarks that he didn't mean to hit him. He just tried to save him from a fly that landed on his face. Wang crashes to the ground with only 5% of his health remaining, and his group rushes over in panic, trying to wake him and asking what happened. Still composed, Yang says he killed the fly on Wang's face, but apparently there are still a few more sitting on the faces of everyone there. Terrified, his companions immediately back away, insisting there's no need for him to worry, that they can handle it themselves before fleeing in pure panic. Suddenly, a woman begins clapping. She's a temple guide responsible for profession transitions and approaches him with a smile, praising him and saying he's truly impressive, asking if she can help him with anything. Yang says he wishes to perform a class transition. The woman nods and asks him to follow her. As they walk, she notes that he looks like a newly promoted novice. Yet the strength and speed he displayed clearly put him at the level of a professional around level 20. She wonders if he's a descendant of a powerful family, but finds it odd that she's never heard of such a young talent. After a while, they arrive at the location, and the guide points to a grand statue of the god of transition, explaining that it will automatically detect his class and level, then assign him a transition mission, which once completed will allow him to advance. Young studies the statue's immense size, thinking it's truly impressive. The woman continues saying that transition missions are divided into 4 levels, and based on his current state, she recommends accepting a 3-star one. Curious, he asks why not 4. The woman explains that 4-star missions are far more difficult, and though she doesn't mean to sound rude, his class, warrior, is relatively weaker, and these missions must be completed alone. She emphasizes that class transition is a once-in-a-lifetime challenge. If he fails a 4-star mission, he will never be able to advance again. Yang understands, but still raises his hand toward the altar. The statue begins to glow, and a voice announces, "Transition requirements detected. Profession warrior level 20 requirements met. Initiating transition mission." Then the options appear before him. 1-star mission, defeat 10 common level 20 boars. Reward, choose between assault warrior or defensive warrior. 2-star mission, defeat 20 common level 20 furious monkeys. Reward, choose between assault warrior or defensive warrior and receive a first-class common grade warrior skill book. 3-star mission, defeat 30 common level 20 vanguard goblins. Reward, choose between assault warrior or defensive warrior and receive a first-class high-grade warrior skill book. 4-star mission, defeat 50 common level 20 wild hounds and 20 elite level 20 bloodthirsty hounds. Reward, choose between assault warrior, defensive warrior, or bloodthirsty warlord and receive a first-class high-grade warrior skill book. But then something unexpected happens. A new option appears before him. A 5-star transition mission. Confused, the protagonist asks if it's real, if a 5-star mission actually exists. A description appears before his eyes. Location, Cold Moon Forest, 5-star transition mission. Objective, defeat 100 common level 20 Grey Wolves, 10 elite level 20 Wild Wolves, and 1 level 20 Grey Wolf boss. Rewards, unlock the special transition path. Magic Warrior, gain 100 additional spirit points, and obtain an epic grade first-class magic warrior skill. Note, transition missions cannot be completed in teams or using gifted or traded equipment. Completing a 5-star mission grants the player certain temple privileges. Still confused, Young asked the guide why she said the missions only went up to 4 stars and why there's a 5th one. Also wanted to know what those privileges are. The woman looks surprised, but then smiles, saying that 5-star missions do exist, but their difficulty is so extreme that no one in the entire Hua kingdom has accepted one in years. As for the privileges, only the temple's high priest knows what they are. She apologizes, explaining that the lack of information about this type of mission was a mistake. Then she adds that since the beginning of the era of transitions, the power cap of each nation has been determined by its transistors. And to prevent promising talents from being stuck at level 20 due to poor choices, both the temple and the government decided to make higher level paths more accessible. Yang nods, saying he understands, though he thinks the 5-star mission is truly insane. Besides the number of monsters, he'll also have to defeat a boss alone without any help or external equipment. He knows that if he fails, he'll be stuck forever in his first class. Even so, that bonus of 100 spirit points and the chance to become a magic warrior are far too tempting. Not to mention the mysterious temple privilege. The woman, noticing his hesitation, tries to advise him, saying that while the 4-star mission may seem tempting, the 3-star one suits his profession much better and is much safer. Young smiles and thanks her for the advice, saying it was very helpful. She seems pleased, remarking that he's polite and that it's their duty to guide candidates properly. But suddenly, she feels something strange. The system announces that the protagonist has accepted the 5-star transition mission. 5-star transition mission accepted. Duration, 72 hours. Location, Cold Moon Forest. A massive surge of energy bursts from Young, illuminating the entire temple. Shocked, the woman asks why he accepted it, and he replies with a grin that after a quick analysis, he found this mission the most suitable for him. She tries to argue, warning him about the danger, but he walks past her, cutting her off and saying, "There's no need to worry. He'll be back soon after completing the mission. And besides, he's curious to find out what those temple privileges really are." The guide trembles, speechless, whispering that someone actually dared to accept a 5-star mission and that they need to notify the high priest immediately. Meanwhile, in East Spirit City, a message appears on the teleportation portal. Due to an energy fluctuation, portal activation will be slightly delayed. Please wait patiently. Yang reads the notice a bit surprised, then smiles, saying there's no rush. After all, this extra time will be perfect for calmly planning his journey through the Cold Moon Forest. Suddenly, a refined woman walks by complaining that small cities are always a hassle. Even teleportation matrices experience delays. She tells Xiaoan to stay close and not wander off. The woman is Zhu Yin, a member of the B-rank guild Phantom Cloud, and the girl beside her is Gu Xiaoan, Yang's classmate. Qian says she's fine, but when she glances to the side, her eyes widen, and she asks if the young man standing in line is Su Yang. Shu Yan immediately pulls her closer and asks if she knows him. Qian explains that he's her classmate and, like her, only changed professions yesterday. Shu Yan frowns, finding it strange, and comments that this portal leads directly to the Cold Moon Forest, an area full of monsters above level 20. What would a novice be doing going there? Just then, a voice announces that the teleportation portal has resumed normal operation and asks everyone to proceed in order. Worried, Qian wonders if Young entered by mistake and, fearing something might happen, tries to warn him, but Shu Yan stops her, saying it's too late. He's already gone. Xian panics, calling out to him, but the portal closes before her eyes. Moments later, in the Cold Moon Forest, a region with a recommended level between 20 and 30, Su Yang materializes among the trees, surveying his surroundings and confirming that he's indeed in the right place. He notices there's no one nearby. It seems all the hunters have already scattered to start their hunt. Just as he's about to do the same, he's ambushed by a wolf from the side, but dodges easily. Looking at his attacker, he recognizes it as a common level 19 gray wolf, exactly the kind of creature mentioned in his mission. Yang thinks he didn't expect to find them so soon, but gets ready for battle. He knows that relying solely on himself without using items or traded equipment would make the fight tough. However, the sword in his hands is a platinum tier flame sword, and with a single strike, he cuts the monster down. Glancing at the blade, he comments that this drop had been expensive. Normally at his level, he wouldn't even be able to use it, but thanks to a special gem obtained from the spirit hunters, he can equip high-tier weapons. During the refinement process, he broke several valuable gems, sold useless items, and made about 1 billion. Now only 60 million remain. He laughs to himself, saying that if he sells that bow, the cost won't matter. Maybe Ming will buy it, which would make him a first-class fool. While reflecting, more wolves appear and charge at him. Even though they can't break through a shield, they keep attacking relentlessly. Yang sighs, amused by how stupid low-level monsters can be. Not giving up even after taking such a beating, he then uses a silver-tier disposable scroll, Energize Barrier, whose effect creates a shield around the user capable of absorbing up to 50,000 points of damage. With the protection active, he advances and destroys all nearby enemies with ease, his sword slicing through the air waft in flames. When it's over, he gathers a few stones and observes the remains of the monsters, remarking that so far he's defeated every wolf that's come at him. But the annoying part is having to deal with them one by one. Checking his mission progress, he sees the update. Grey Wolf, level 20, common 15,100s. He tosses the stones into the air, saying it's better if all the monsters come to him. The stones dropped by a low-level boss have the effect of attracting both common and elite monsters within a wide area. 5 minutes later, countless wolves surround him, and he comments with satisfaction that they've all finally arrived, praising the item's effect. Preparing for battle, he says that now all he needs to do is finish them off at once. He then takes out a special-level disposable skill scroll called Baptism of Flame, a level 70 technique that deals area of effect fire damage to all nearby enemies. He also drinks an intermediate mental potion, which increases spirit by 150 points for 2 hours. Activating the scroll and drinking the potion, he unleashes Baptism of Flame, incinerating countless monsters, though many still remain around him. Watching the scene, Young mutters that there must be over 100 enemies now, and wonders if he really attracted every monster in the forest, declaring that if that's the case, he'll answer with the same intensity. In another part of the forest, a group of people was walking when one of them commented that something felt strange because that area was usually full of monsters, yet they had already walked 2 kilometers without finding any. Another young man said that not long ago he had encountered a monster, but it didn't even attack him. Sigh. It just ran off in the opposite direction, and he couldn't understand why. The redhead agreed, saying that the monsters in that place were usually aggressive and asked since when they started running away upon seeing someone. After hearing all these stories, the man leading the group said he already knew what was happening. Someone must have used a monster attraction stone, drawing all the creatures toward themselves. Annoyed, he complained that some shameless guy was taking all the loot alone and said that was a huge jerk move. He stormed off saying he was going to teach that kid a lesson because eating all the monsters alone wasn't fair since he wasn't the only one with a quest in the area. His companions agreed, saying they needed to demand an explanation because using a monster attraction stone in an open area was total disrespect. As they followed the direction where the creatures had fled, a massive explosion erupted. The 3 of them were shocked, and the blonde commented that a magical fluctuation of that level could only be caused by a level 30 mage. The redhead asked what kind of lunatic would farm materials in a low-level area and still manage to clear the entire cold moon jungle alone. The leader, sweating nervously, said he had just remembered an important appointment at home and needed to leave. The blonde agreed, claiming he also had something urgent to do, and the redhead suggested maybe they should come back later to finish the quest. Meanwhile, the protagonist remarked that the hard part was already done and only the boss was left. He had already eliminated 100 level 20 Grey Wolves and 20 elite level 20 Furious Wolves, leaving only the Alpha Wolf King. Walking calmly, he thought that this 5-star class change quest was actually quite easy, even if he had cheated a little. After a few more minutes, he arrived at the boss's lair, the Cold Moon Cave. The Alpha Wolf King was a creature recommended for groups of 3 or more level 20 players. Nearby, a trio was observing the cave entrance. Zhang, a level 22 mage, Leon, a level 21 tank warrior, and Jiao Wu, a level 21 forest archer. Zhang commented that they had finally arrived and asked if his teammates were ready. The warrior told him to relax, saying he had bought a basic strength potion and could hold the front line firmly. The archer noted that he had just changed class and hadn't even tested his new abilities yet, so he didn't know how strong he was. Zhang explained that the Alpha Wolf King should drop the Alpha Crystal Core, an item needed to forge his silver staff, which would serve him until level 40. He ordered Li San to hold the aggro, while he and Xiaowu attacked from behind, entering as soon as the tank gave the signal. The archer asked them to wait because someone was approaching. The warrior asked if that guy had come to steal their loot, but the mage replied that he just looked like a lost student. The warrior suggested warning the kid about the danger, but Zhang slapped him on the head and asked if he was an idiot, explaining that the kid was walking straight into being their bait. Once he took the boss's first blast, they would swoop in and claim the reward effortlessly. The warrior praised him, saying his older brother was a true genius. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and they wondered if it was an earthquake. Meanwhile, the protagonist kept walking forward calmly, unfazed. The boss then appeared before him, but the aura surrounding it was completely different, something colossal and terrifying. Because of the large number of wolves killed in the Cold Moon Jungle, the Alpha Wolf King had gone into a frenzy. The system announced that the Alpha Wolf King boss had entered a rage state and that all its attributes had increased by 30%. Leon complained, saying it didn't make sense for the boss to get angry out of nowhere, and asked if they were really going to fight that thing since he was starting to feel scared. Zhang, however, stood up and began walking toward the boss, saying he didn't care because if they ran away now, all their waiting time would be wasted. He said that if they missed this chance, they might never defeat that boss again. So, as soon as that kid died, Leon should immediately take the front line. In the middle of his speech, a deafening sound echoed, cutting him off. The protagonist had struck a single blow and instantly defeated the boss. The system announced that the Alpha Wolf King had been defeated and that he gained 30,000 experience points. Quest complete. Hill level 20. Boss Alpha Wolf King. 1 of 1. All tasks for the 5-star class change quest were completed, and he now needed to return to the transfer sanctuary to finalize the advancement. Yang looked around and commented that it was way too easy. When the items began appearing, he remarked that everything there was worthless junk and that he would just sell it straight to the shop. Then, he received a notification saying that the Grey Wolf King's crystal core contained beast magic energy and could be used to enhance silver-grade weapons. Laughing, he commented that the quest had been way too easy and decided to head back. At that moment, Zhang approached, called him boss, and asked if, in case Yang didn't want the Wolf King's crystal core, he could keep it. The protagonist calmly turned around, planted his sword in the ground in front of the mage, and asked who had said they were going to use him as bait. Zhang panicked and shouted that it wasn't him, insisting he would never think of such a thing. Yang then crushed the magic crystal in his hand and replied that if he wanted the item so badly, he could go pick it up himself. As Yang walked away, Zhang collapsed to the ground in relief, laughing nervously and saying that it scared him to death. Thank goodness he hadn't done anything yet. The archer, still in shock, asked if that was real and if such power could actually exist, while the pale-faced warrior said it was absurd. The protagonist had defeated the boss with a single strike. They were left wondering who that guy really was. Sometime later at the temple, a receptionist commented that he was back too soon and asked if there was any question. Yang replied that he had completed the quest and was ready for his advancement. Surprised, she asked him to wait a moment while she called the person in charge. When the same woman from before arrived and saw him, she was completely astonished and asked if he had really completed a 5-star advancement quest. Yang simply confirmed and she, confused, began checking the system, murmuring that he had accepted the quest that morning and that only a few hours had passed. It seemed impossible. After verifying everything, she still hesitated, saying that completing a 5-star advancement quest in a single day was unbelievable, even suspecting cheating for a moment. But the system found nothing, which meant he had done it all alone without taking a single scratch. Noticing her silence, Yang asked if he could begin the advancement. The woman snapped out of her thoughts, apologized for her rudeness, and invited him to follow her. As they walked, she thought she'd done the right thing by informing the high priest since a talent like his couldn't be wasted. She also looked him over more carefully and thought he was quite handsome, wondering if she could get his contact later. When they reached the statue chamber, she asked him to step forward, explaining that the statue would automatically verify the quest. As soon as he approached, several lights and streams of energy began flowing toward him. The system announced that it was verifying the class advancement quest. After a few seconds, it confirmed that all stages had been successfully completed and the quest approved. All the surrounding energy gathered and was absorbed into the protagonist's body, entering directly through his chest. Surprised, he remarked that this energy was far too powerful to be something ordinary. Soon, an intense aura flared around him. The class advancement aura, a special reward for those who completed advancement quests. Its color and bonus vary by difficulty. A white aura granted 2% to all attributes, green 4%, blue 6%, purple 10%, and finally, the legendary orange aura exclusive to 5-star quests gave an astonishing 25% bonus to all attributes. The system announced, player Su Yang has advanced to the class Magic Warrior. 5-star advancement quest completed, orange aura activated, attribute bonus plus 25%. The Magic Warrior class combined close quarters combat with extremely powerful spells. And because of his accumulated access points, Su Yang began leveling up rapidly. The system kept notifying. First advancement completed. Level cap increased to 40. Experience detected. Points. Level increased to 34. 210 attribute points available. Without hesitation, he distributed the points. 90 to strength, 90 to spirit, and 30 to speed. Feeling his power surge with each moment, he thought to himself that jumping straight to level 34 with the orange aura and the flaming sword's bonus had made him absurdly above average. When he checked his panel, the numbers were impressive. Su Yang, level 34, first advancement class, Magic Warrior, strength 569, base 230 plus equipment 339, speed 123, base 105 plus equipment 18, spirit 339, base 165 plus equipment 174. The system also granted a special reward, an epic skill book from Magic Warriors. New skill acquired. Magic Blade condenses magical energy into a weapon, increasing total damage proportionally to strength and spirit attributes. Young decided to test it right there, and the moment he activated the spell, magical pressure filled the entire room. He looked at the glowing blade with excitement and commented that the skill was incredible, completely controllable by thought, capable of changing shape, and adaptable to any type of combat. Moreover, it evolved along with him, like a legendary weapon that would never become obsolete, simply perfect. Satisfied, he thought that the 5-star advancement quest had been worth every second, as the rewards were far superior to any other, and he promised himself he would keep taking quests of that level. The woman beside him congratulated him, saying his name would be engraved on the temple monument, and that from now on, he was a VIP guest of the class advancement temple. Curious, Yang asked what benefits a VIP would get. She told him to wait a moment while she checked, but before she could, a soft voice echoed through the hall, saying there was no need. A beautiful woman with an imposing presence entered and greeted them both. She introduced herself as Bing, senior priestess of the class advancement temple of East Spirit City. The receptionist bowed nervously and asked why the senior priestess had come in person. Bing smiled and replied that such an important guest deserved to be received by her personally, politely asking the attendant to leave. Su Yang watched the scene, recalling that a senior priestess was practically the temple's highest authority, which left him wondering why someone of her level would come just to receive him. Meanwhile, the first woman kept a calm expression, but inside she was devastated, regretting not getting the handsome man's contact before being dismissed. The senior priestess stepped closer and said that wasn't the best place to talk, asking the protagonist to relax because she would take him to the VIP room where they could speak more comfortably. As soon as they joined hands and the chant was recited, transportation occurred, and in an instant they appeared inside a spacious VIP hall. Yang was astonished, wondering if that was real spatial teleportation. For a third-ass priestess to master such an advanced technique, the temple's power must be unimaginable. Ling, however, explained that it wasn't quite like that since she could only use a portion of the temple statue's power. On the other hand, she said what truly surprised her was the protagonist himself, because according to the records, there had never been a 5-star class advancement in East Spirit City and even in Heavenly Spirit City. It's so a much more advanced city. The last case had occurred over 10 years ago. Yang was shocked to realize that Heavenly Spirit City was a higher level, far more developed city. And if even their 5-star advancement was that rare, the value of what he had just achieved was far greater than he imagined. The priestess then explained that according to temple rules, whoever completes a 5-star class advancement for the first time receives great benefits. First, a monthly salary of 10 million in the national currency. Second, a black gold identity certification from the Yeshuan granting 80% discounts on purchases and transactions. Hearing that, Yang was stunned. Being a temple VIP was unbelievably good. He didn't even care much about the salary. The black gold certification alone was worth a fortune. If he spent 100 million, he'd save 80 million. So, the 10 million per month didn't even compare to that. He wondered if the temple really granted all that at once. Such generosity seemed unreal. Ling went on to explain that both the salary and certification had already been automatically linked to the protagonist's ID by the temple statue, so he didn't need to do anything. Furthermore, he could choose to join any rank A guild in the city. Yang asked if joining a guild was mandatory, and the priestess replied, not exactly, but reminded him that individual abilities have limits. While joining a guild provided experience bonuses, various advantages, and most importantly, protection, which was usually the wiser choice. She then asked what he thought. The protagonist reflected that it made sense since solo players were always easy targets, especially someone like him who leveled up so fast. His strength was already enough to crush any player of the same level. But encountering someone much stronger could be dangerous. Having a guild support wasn't a bad idea. In truth, his goal went far beyond that city. Joining a guild would just be the first step, as what he truly wanted was to use it as a springboard to build his own power and one day become a king who ruled the entire region. After thinking for a moment, he asked which guilds were available. Ling replied that there were currently 2 rank A guilds in East Spirit City, and considering several factors, she believed the best choice for him would be the Spear Hunters Guild. Hearing that, Young realized it was the very same guild he had just destroyed and asked if there wasn't another option. The priestess then mentioned the Phantom Cloud Guild, rivals of the Spirit Hunters, which also had considerable strength, though it was much more discreet. Without hesitation, he said he would choose the Phantom Cloud Guild. The priestess was momentarily confused, but quickly understood and said she would immediately arrange his admission into the Phantom Cloud Guild. However, before that, there was something he needed to know. The Phantom Cloud Guild was composed entirely of women. Meanwhile, in East Spirit City, inside the headquarters of the Phantom Cloud Guild, a girl was lying down reading a book, complaining about how boring everything was and that there was nothing interesting to do. That was Lin Yu, level 85, former leader of the B-rank Phantom Cloud Guild. Another woman sitting at a nearby table commented that Yu wasn't even part of the guild anymore and yet showed up every day to slack off and still had the nerve to complain. That was Lin Yun, level 99 current leader of the now A-rank Phantom Cloud Guild. Yu replied that guild matters were too much of a hassle and she didn't have the patience to deal with them. At that moment, Shu Yin suddenly burst into the room, saying that even so, Yu couldn't just disappear without notice and reminding her she should at least greet the new members. Shortly after, Qian entered and greeted them both, introducing herself as Gu Qian, an ice elementalist. Yu studied her carefully and remarked that she was quite cute, saying she was approved. Suddenly, a notification appeared for Yu. When she opened it, She looked utterly horrified. Yu Yu asked what had happened, and Yu Yin replied that a man had just joined the guild out of nowhere. She explained that the place was in chaos, with everyone talking about the unexpected entry, and even after she asked around, no one could explain what had happened. Yu Yu scoffed, saying the guild had a rule to accept only women, and asked if there had been some mistake. Yu Yin shook her head and said the new member had been assigned directly by the temple. He had completed a 5-star advancement quest and earned VIP status, granting him the right to choose any rank A guild, so she couldn't refuse. Xian was amazed, saying it was unbelievable for someone to achieve something so difficult. Yu Yu became excited, too, saying that person must be truly incredible. Shu Yan still looked doubtful, asking why that guy hadn't chosen the spirit hunters instead. Yu Yin replied that she didn't understand either, but decided to put aside for now, saying she would schedule a meeting with him soon, and if he caused trouble, they would find a way to kick him out. Tian was surprised upon hearing the name Su Yang, and Yu Yin asked if they knew each other since the newcomer was also from Dongling City. Tian confirmed that she had a friend with that name, but said he had just awakened yesterday and should still be level 1 like her. Yin concluded it must just be a coincidence of names. At that moment, another woman rushed into the room, informing the guild master that she had just received confirmed news. The Spirit Hunters Guild had been completely wiped out in the Black Dragon dungeon. She said she didn't know what they had been plotting, but the fact was that they were annihilated. That was Murang Shu, level 95, a member of the Phantom Cloud Guild. Yin was shocked and said that if the Spirit Hunters had been destroyed, they needed to revise their entire strategy for the giant forest raid. Murang added that she had heard Ming's weapon exploded and that she saw an item called Call of the Storm being auctioned at the trading house with only one bid active in East Spirit City, probably from one of the Spirit Hunters. She told the guild master to guess what she did. Yu Yin laughed and asked if she had raised the price. Murang confirmed proudly, saying she joined the auction and drove the price sky high, surpassing 10 billion and causing the Spirit Hunters massive losses. Yu Yu burst into laughter too, praising her and saying she did great. Meanwhile, Ming sneezed and with tears in his eyes swore that the Black Dragon and the ice which had become his mortal enemies. Sean lamented that the seller wasn't responding to private messages and that 14 billion had been a devastating blow to the guild's finances. Yuan concluded that the news about Ming's weapon exploding had probably already spread and that the malicious auction was clearly a premeditated trap. The guild leader kicked Ming, ordering him to get up and asking how long he planned to keep hiding since they had already retrieved the gear and it was time to get back to work. They then headed together toward the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. As soon as the meeting began, the pavilion leader, Zhou Tai, asked if they were seriously claiming the strategy was wrong, calling it a joke. He stated that they had cleared the Black Dragon's lair at least 5 times and had built the strategy in detail based on that experience, leaving no room for mistakes. Zhou Tai asked if they were sure they had followed everything exactly as instructed. Zhou Tai was a bloodthirsty warrior, level 110, 5th transformation, and the head of the strategy group of the Exploration Guild Celestial Mechanism Pavilion. Sean replied firmly that he was absolutely certain they had followed the pavilion strategy, but the Black Dragon boss behavior had been completely different from expected. He emphasized that he wasn't questioning Zhou Tai's experience, but guaranteed everything he said was true, asking if Zhou Tai really thought he'd sacrifice his entire guild's main force just to deceive them, which would be absurd. A man playing with a knife interrupted, mocking them, saying the Spirit Hunters were a bunch of useless weaklings who'd been handed the strategy on a silver platter, yet still got wiped out by a level 99 boss. He laughed, asking what use was a pile of trash like them, and who gave him the courage to cling to his group. That man was Lu Si, a shadow assassin, level 103, 5th transformation. Sean tried to remain respectful and asked him to mind his words, but Lu Si kept provoking, saying that if they were weak, they should just train harder, and if they couldn't handle losing, they shouldn't be playing. Zhou Tai then scolded him harshly, ordering him to shut up, reminding everyone that the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion Guild had always valued integrity and never sold false information. He declared that he would personally organize a new expedition into the Black Dragon's lair. And if the strategy truly had flaws, the pavilion would fully compensate the Spirit Hunters' losses. However, if the strategy proved correct, it would mean Sean made a mistake, and then the problem would be entirely his. Zhou Tai asked if those terms were acceptable. Sean thanked him and agreed. Zhou Tai concluded by saying that the next day, the 4 of them would take Sean to investigate the dungeon and asked if anyone had objections. Zhang Kexin, a holy healer of the 5th transformation, level 108, said there was no problem. Zhang Jin, a barrier master of the 5th transformation, level 104, also agreed. Lu Si merely muttered that it was fine. Suddenly, a murderous aura filled the room and a black mist spread out. The Spirit Hunter members stood up, ready to fight, and their leader demanded to know who that man was. Zhou Tai, however, remained calm and told them not to panic, saying that it was Lord Chunlin. The Spirit Hunter's leader was stunned and asked if he was one of the big names from headquarters. Chunlan, a necromancer of the 5th transformation, level 115 from the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion, looked at Zhou Tai and asked if he had forgotten to inform him whenever planning an expedition into the Black Dragon's lair. Zhou Tai immediately bowed and apologized, explaining that it was only a reconnaissance mission and they hadn't meant to bother him. Chunlan said it was fine, told him not to explain, and announced that he would join them the next day. Then he began acting strangely, his eyes empty and his smile twisted, muttering that souls were delicious, that with every harvest, his treasure grew stronger, and that even killing thousands of times would never be enough. He then raised his hand, chuckling softly, and said for his dear black dragon to wait for him, so that once again it could be reaped. Zhou Tai thought to himself that he really couldn't stand that creepy old man. While Sean felt a bit of relief with 5 5th transformation professionals and even a specialist from the Celestial Mechanism Pavilion headquarters, a team of that caliber could crush a 4th-ranked dungeon with ease. They were practically guaranteed to succeed. In fact, if they managed to slay the Black Dragon, that would be great. But if they were wiped out by it, that would be even better. Whether the strategy was legitimate or not, that arrogant team of tacticians needed to pay a heavy price. What he truly wanted was for them to die together with the Black Dragon. Later that night, lying in his room, the protagonist browsed through the guild chat and couldn't help but laugh. It really lived up to being an all-female guild, as the channel never stopped updating, and most of the messages were about him. Thankfully, he had muted it quickly, otherwise he would have died of boredom already. Suddenly, he received a notification informing him that a new bid had been placed on the diamond grade weapon, Call of the Storm, which he had listed at the auction house. Curious to see who was bidding, he opened the history and was surprised to find 2 players had been competing for more than 10 pages. The latest bid was from Noble Elf at 14 billion and 30 million. The system warned that the value exceeded the maximum average price by 40% and asked if he wished to confirm the sale. Without hesitation, he clicked yes and silently thanked the unknown ice witch for helping drive the price up. Moments later, he received confirmation that the transaction had been completed successfully. Because he was a distinguished member of the XUN Black Gold, all transaction fees were waived, and he even received a 5% bonus on the final amount. His balance was updated to 15 million, and he was astonished to realize that the tax exemption plus the bonus meant an extra 10% profit. He had just earned over $1 billion more. The feeling was exhilarating, exactly the kind of privilege a distinguished member deserved. Closing his eyes, he muttered that he'd take a short rest, already looking forward to his next part-time shift the next day. That feeling of crushing the weak was addictive, and after tasting that pleasure, who would ever want to go back to grinding monsters the old way? At 7 in the morning, the alarm went off, and with it came a new notification saying that the cool down for his part-time job had ended. A group was now challenging the dungeon. 5 members from an exploration team, and 1 from a ranked guild, the Lingen. The system asked if he wanted to establish connection. As he stood up, he saw it was the famous exploration team known as the Dungeon Slayers, who had already conquered several dungeons and created strategies for each one. The guild included many 5th transformation professionals above level 100. So, this sudden visit was likely related to the Spirit Hunter massacre. Yang smiled confidently, thinking that if they brought only 6 people, they must be overly confident in their abilities, which meant he wouldn't go easy on them. He confirmed the connection, and the system announced that it was successful. Transforming into the Black Dragon, he thought it was time to start his second part-time shift. As soon as the transformation was complete, he reflected that the subordinate monsters that had died earlier had also respawned, but nothing particularly strange occurred. After all, this was the Black Dragon's lair, merely a diamond-grade secret realm that could be reset like a game. Only star-grade or higher secret realms couldn't be explored more than once. He looked toward the imprisoned elf, who asked what he was plotting this time. From the Black Dragon's perspective, he thought she looked more like a cute little pet than a prisoner. Still, he grew curious about how that elf girl had been captured, since when he wasn't connected, the Black Dragon was supposed to act strictly according to the preset rules. Even so, he decided to check the composition of the invading party. Seeing the full team, he commented that it was, as expected, 5 5th transformation professionals, including Sean from the Spear Hunters, which meant they had come to clean up last time's mess. The exploration team's coordination was impressive. He concluded their formation was far superior to the previous one, but as long as they didn't touch the Dragon Slayer's heart, they wouldn't be a real problem. Still, to be safe, he wanted to test the team's strengths and weaknesses. You could never underestimate 5th transformation professionals. He turned to his subordinates and ordered them to take the lesser soldiers outside and deal with the invaders, leaving only one behind. The enemy group began discussing among themselves, saying they had reached this far without encountering any irregularities and that the strategy data had been verified, wondering if the spirit hunters had actually lied. The shadow assassin said it was more likely they had made mistakes and were now looking for excuses. Kexen urged them not to let their guard down and to maintain the barrier while calmly preparing for the boss fight. Lucii suddenly felt uneasy and asked what was happening as a thick cloud of dust began rising and a powerful killing intent was detected. Shocked, they realized a horde of monsters had appeared. The creatures shouted that no intruder would be left alive and that they must attack immediately. Sean snapped his fingers and said that it was exactly like last time, but this time there were even more monsters. Jotai commented that while unexpected, that level of threat wasn't enough to endanger the exploration team. Lei rushed forward, saying they needed to activate the battle formation. He would draw the elite monsters' attention while the others wiped out the smaller ones. And once that was done, they could focus entirely on the bosses. He unleashed his skill Shadow Rend. Jin activated Mountain Barrier. Jotai struck with Violent Slash, and the healer cast Blessing of Holy Light. With that, they wiped out the horde effortlessly. The leader stated they'd lost a few minutes and needed to keep moving. Watching everything, the protagonist,